Hi, this is a Florence SISE Operations Center update for Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on September 16th, 2018. The Operations Center has been active for several days, and we're tracking specific trouble tickets in the private sector. Some we're involved in directly, some we're just tracking to see when they are resolved. One of the things we've learned here is the value of our emergency resource library. Mike Ambrosio from Wakefern Foods actually started this back after Sandy. And he said, you know what would be really helpful is if we had a place to go to find all of the vendors that would rent or sell commercial generators nationwide. And the reason for that is commercial generators couldn't be found in the impacted area of Sandy for miles, and they had nowhere to go, and it just took so long. No one really curates or tracks that information. So that gave birth to the consortium's Emergency Resources Library, and it's been building over the years. It's a big database right now of pretty much any, well, it seems like just when we figure we got them all, we come up with new ones. But it tracks people that rent or supply any type of equipment pretty much. Out of Puerto Rico, we found people that have massive barges for fleet movement on the water. We found people that have barges with hotel rooms. I didn't even know there was such a thing. We had a request one time for porta potties, so we mapped all the porta potties. We had commercial fuel locations. We haven't mapped them all, but we started it. Finance sector, food sector issues, certainly electric sector, telecom, there's a bunch of them. Well, anyway, it came into play yesterday when in the morning we got a call at 7 o'clock from FEMA Region 4. Phil Strauss called me and said, hey Tom, do you guys have a list of people that can get us high water tracked vehicles for one of the utilities? So we sent it to him, and sure enough, I got an email back saying, hey, by the way, that little piece of information reduced outages from 900,000 down to 500,000, like a 50% drop. Just that little piece of information. And what we're learning in the process is private sector, sometimes I'm painting. You can see paint this morning. My wife's third grade classroom needs new chairs, so I'm priming all the paint. Private sector will make a request to their state, who then will go to the FEMA region, who then go to FEMA national, and trying to find a piece of equipment. And sometimes they either go through their mutual aid networks at the state level, or they go to FEMA, or they buy it. When they buy it, though, there's a bill rendered to somebody. And so what we're finding is that through the SISE, the private sector can use the SISE as a resource to find out who sells or rents stuff, and maybe not necessarily have to go to government to get that answer. Okay? Or maybe it doesn't work and they have to go to government. So it all depends on the scenario and the equipment you're looking for, because government's busy, and adding more cycles to government just adds more time. So we're learning as we go. I think that's really important. We've got people now that are going to be working that process. We closed out a trouble ticket today. We weren't involved in directly, but CSX had closed the rail service to some southern routes. That train was carrying coal, and one of the utilities has a coal-fired plant. Got a problem. Now they weren't short on inventory, but they could have been short on inventory had this gone on longer. So we got a word this morning that CSX and the utility worked it out, and rail moving and coal on the way. So it's these little things we're discovering along the way. I think the big win here this morning, I sent an email to Alex Keenan and some of our government partners, basically talking about the value of when Jack Mazaris at the White House Office of Technology Policy came to a meeting with Chris Eisenbray at EEI, myself, Mike Sapone was on the phone, and we met with the seniors at DOT, US DOT, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And that started, I think it was back in July, that started a relationship. Alex Keenan was the point person for that. Alex and I have been talking. He's briefed the fleet work group. He's going to speak at our workshop. But we've been working operationally. And what was really interesting about this particular event, we were having dialogue with Alex about the geographic coverage of a Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration waiver. They can declare a regional disaster, and they can make it for 3 states or 5 states or 20 states. Doesn't really matter. Well, they did, and they came out with a declaration really from Florida up to New York. It was a really broad piece of that. I'd like to think that working with the private sector, that informed Alex and company about how to broaden that reach, because this storm was kind of going to, come in and do a U-turn and head up to Boston and Massachusetts. But we had a gas pipe explosion in Massachusetts, and they were able to use that waiver. I believe they were able to use that waiver as to moving. And why was that important? Because crews coming from Ohio, the minute they leave Ohio, they don't have operating authority in these other states. So they need either a federal declaration or a state declaration to show officers if they get pulled over in Pennsylvania, hey, what are you doing out of state? Okay. More importantly, Federal Motor Carrier Administration could notify all of the state weigh stations. They have direct contact with all of them. Hey, fleets are moving, be on the lookout. And we had states during this storm actually declare or send out a waiver saying, hey, don't stop at our weigh station, just blow by it. It was amazing coordination. So I got to say, Alex, give Alex and his team a shout out. That was really a huge thing, having that waiver, and it was good for a month. So this is a really good workaround. Instead of having to get all the states to declare, which is not easy for states to do, they're so many times willing to do it. But having Federal Motor Carrier do it, it makes it a lot simpler for everybody. So that was kind of the big best practice we're coming out of this with today. I'm sure there'll be others. So anyway, the beauty of sustained planning, right? Alex has been immersed into the SISE planning framework. Everybody there is trusted, and they can share, have real conversations, and fix stuff quickly. So over time, we hope to expand that framework to include more work groups and so forth, working on issues, specific issues, not all of them. The beauty of the SISE, it picks a sector and then works a problem in that sector until they fix it. Then it goes on the solution shelf, and then they go to the next problem, the next one, and the next one. So over time, they build this library of solutions that can be used either internally, or they use third-party people that provide that as well. So the SISE is not a place of technology or solutions. It's really a secure legal framework for planning. And when it hits the fan, we can all come together, work together. And then when it's blue sky day, we go back to what we do every day. And that's 9 a.m. Friday calls as a group talking. It's amazing what you get done on sustained conference calls. Anyway, that's the update for today.